आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनकही कहानियाँ। आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनसुनी कहानियाँ।
Hello, listeners. You're listening to Vigyan Ki Awaaz podcast program on STEM popularization, catalyzed and supported by the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, through its National Council for Science and Technology Communication and Media for Community Foundation. Project devised and designed by Dr. R. Sridhar and assisted by Ashish Tiwari. Local coordination and production, Professor Subramanian. Content writing by Professor Mansa Gowda and post-production by Professor Kaushik P. Kanchan of Garden City University, Bengaluru.
Garden City University, conquer we shall all adversity. GCU, emphasis on life. GCU, emphasis on life.
In the last episode, Dr. Shiva gave us more insight on how lab researches are not always done for results. And in continuation to that, Dr. Shiva then shared her thoughts on where India is in terms of research in the world.
So one must keep this thing in mind that not all the research that is done in the lab will have a result tomorrow. Okay, so there are two aspects of what we do. One aspect is training, to teach students about the most upcoming kinds of research ideas and also to teach about some very strong fundamental biological processes. That is one aspect of my position here as a professor, to provide academic training on topics that are important not only for India. Science is a world phenomenon, it's a global phenomenon. We should not think about it, my lab, my city, my center, like how, the government now is thinking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We have to think about science like that only, because science is the study of natural phenomenon, not only in one location, about things that occur across the globe, not only on land but also underwater and in the air. So in that sense, I think that the fact that we are studying and understanding some phenomena, biological processes in the world, is already a big, important contribution. Second is, why should I study that? How does it affect anybody else, right? Is it just for me to be very happy and curious, so it's fulfilling my curiosity? Is that it? No, because if I don't understand some of these processes, how will I even let it to apply to the problems of the world? Now, the problems of the world are of many kinds. One can be, like you're saying, climate, for example, things that are happening in a geophysical sense. The second can be biological, for example, diseases, disorders, infections, or even just lifestyle. Because of today, the way we live our lives, very different from how we evolved, right? Yes. We have evolved in over millions of years. We have evolved where the sun would rise, the sun will set, we obey the sun, because we can't do things when we don't have sun. But today's world is not like that. In the last 100 years or so, thanks to electrification, thanks to the need that people in Bangalore are working for people in America, all these things have forced humans to work at times when they did not evolve to be. Now brings us back straight away to clocks, because our clocks have not been evolved to do these kind of things. That is why if you look at people who do shift work, now where all do people do shift work? Not only when people are in hospitals or in factories. What about the airlines? What about our soldiers? What about our security? Across the world, even our software industry people, hundreds of young men and women are working at a time of day when they are not supposed to be. If you think about how they have evolved, right? This has led to rampant health consequences. Now forget about working because they need the money. We have our phones, and when we are about to sleep, we start turning on the phone and we start looking at reels at Netflix, Amazon Prime, every possible things, WhatsApp. We are doing things which we are not supposed to do. That again affects our health, and it is very clear that if you do not follow your clock and do things according to your body's clock, not the physical clock, that leads to long-term health consequences. So we study that aspect as well. Another thing that we have been doing recently is we are trying to see that if you look at many people who suffer from certain kinds of diseases which are gradual, for example, you may have heard of Parkinson's disease
Yes, ma'am.
or Alzheimer's disease.
yes.
There's also another condition called Huntington's disease. It's a little less prevalent, but it's still one of those conditions similar to PD and HD and AD in the sense they are motor conditions, motor disorder. Motor means movement disorder, movement condition. But in the case of HD, there's a very strong genetic component. What do I mean by that? If a human being has a particular mutation in their gene on a particular chromosome, then you will get the disease. There's no escape. Imagine if a parent has suddenly manifested. The important thing is that disease comes when you're 40-year-old. You don't even know you have it because you start manifesting at that time. By that time you are married, you already have children. At that time your motor functions go wrong. Then your child learns from the doctor and your analysis that you are carrying it. Your child is already there. Child in 20-30 years has to make a decision whether she or he will be married, whether he or she will have a job. You see, in that sense, this disease has many issues, but from a genetics point of view, it's a good model for us because here there is a one-to-one connection. You have the mutation, you will get the disease. Now you can model it in my fly. Okay, so I can put the human gene carrying the mutation in the fly. Then I can ask how to make this disease less painful. Till now, I'm not even saying I will cure the disease. I can't because it is too complicated. But I am asking, with my knowledge and my understanding of how biological clocks control various behaviors, can I help these people to have a higher or better quality of life? Why? Can we go back to strengthening our clocks? Why? Because the clock controls several other organ systems, including our digestion, our metabolism, and our thinking, sleeping, waking, etc. So I am asking whether I can harness the power of the clock to improve the symptoms in the fly now, hopefully in the patient in the future.
In getting to know more about Dr. Sheba's research, she told us about the future of her research and her collaborations in other researches.
Where is this going? Yeah. So in the recent years, I have been involved in several collaborative researches. So here I use my own field and my own strengths and match it with people who are my collaborators either in the center in JNC or even outside. So some of these things we have started to look at more cellular processes, so cell biological processes, and asking how these clocks impact at the cellular level other physiologies. That is one. Second, we are now trying to see how it has any connections with ecological factors. So we are doing some experiments outside in an outdoor condition, and now we are collaborating with another lab in France where we are going to work together to see how we can harness our knowledge to look at, let's say, insect pests in the future, to ask how insects lay eggs at a certain time of day. If we can understand how this egg laying rhythm works and the clocks of egg laying, can we target it in the future for pest control, for example? Another set of studies, like I was telling you about this disease HD, along with my collaborator, we are trying to look to develop certain kind of screens. So screen for a large number of molecules. So nowadays we have huge library of chemicals available. So we have the fly model. We can apply this chemicals, a large number of them in these flies, to see in which fly can we get a rescue of the poor defects or whatever which we are having. So that's one level of, I think I step out of my own research and start to look at how it can contribute in the future. And also in the future, I'm hoping that we can do some more high throughput kind of studies. So we have these populations where we have used an evolution kind of approach. So have animals which are of morning and evening types. So you may yourself have seen that among us humans, some people are the early risers and some people are the late. We would like to stay up late, work hard during the night. We are more productive. That's also like a distribution, right? There are some of us who are short, some of us who are tall, some of us who are fair skinned, some are dark skinned. Similarly, the clocks also have a distribution. Now in the lab, what we do, we select for morning and evening types of flies. So now we have populations which have been selected over about 400 generations, okay, to get morning type and evening type of flies. Now we want to look at what has happened at the molecular level inside these animals. We are also trying to look at various molecular, but at various gene level, protein level, metabolite level, and ask how these changes happen. Can we make some connections with what happens in general in morning and evening type of people?
You were listening to Vigyan Ki Awaaz, a podcast on STEM popularization, catalyzed and supported by National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Government of India. Tune in for more such episodes to Vigyan Ki Awaaz on this platform and also through Spotify, YouTube and Apple Music platforms.
आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनकही